Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch it so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about episode 6 of the FX and Hulu series Fleischman is in Trouble, entitled This Is My Enjoyment. The episode title is based upon a pack of cigarettes that the Learning Abroad crew ends up sharing before one of the more volatile scenes of the season that I'll talk about when we get there. But, you know, I really enjoyed this episode, and I think it's just a branch from like this tree of self-reflection, I think, that this show is putting me through. Like, I'm not in Toby's situation at all, but as a married, middle-aged man, you find yourself thinking these kinds of thoughts, like, what would this be like? And you see him going through what he's going through, and you wonder, what would I do in these situations? And there's so many interesting perspectives on relationships and divorce. And I think this episode, like, this is obviously isn't the finale, but it did feel like the culmination of a lot of unspoken just shit between Seth, Libby, and Toby. And I just thought it was really compelling, really interesting. I thought they are starting to pay off a lot of these things that, as we've been going through this season, things that I've hypothesized, like, this is what I think is going on, this is why I think it's happening. They paid off some of that stuff. And yeah, it was a very emotional episode. I just really enjoyed it. So let's get into talking about it. I want to start by talking about how Toby starts the episode. Like, Libby narrates that Toby's starting to fall back on his survival skills. He's getting, he knows what he wants. He knows what he needs. He's setting boundaries. Like, he goes to see Naheed and he's like, you know, we're going out. And I don't know why he thought that would work, because she gave a very solid reason for why she can't do this. I don't know why he thought it was just kind of like a thing where, like, if I just say, yeah, come on, she'll just go along with it. But she didn't. And he essentially dumps her over. I mean, I don't know if they were a couple, but he essentially is like, you know, I deserve better than this. I'm out. And he even passes up the chance for, like, goodbye sex, which, I don't know, what was the point of passing that up? You can still be done with her. Like, I mean, I don't know. But just as everything is starting to go really good for Toby, he finds out that he was passed over for his promotion and that they're hiring someone from outside to take this role. This person will now be his boss. It's someone he knows from medical school. And, you know, for the rest of the episode, we see a different Toby. I don't think this is because Toby didn't get the promotion. I think that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. But I think it's really just the culmination of a lot of undealt with shit regarding Rachel, as far as like his true feelings about it. And I think in this episode in particular, when we see everything going good and he's falling back on his survival skills, and Libby's kind of like he's getting past it, and then, oh, damn it, that promotion fucked him up. I don't think the promotion had, well, not anything to do with it, but I think the promotion was like that last thing. But all of that, he's got his shit together, was kind of like him, I think anyway, pushing down a lot of those feelings that he had about Rachel and not really dealing with them. and feigning this kind of like, I'm okay now. So when the promotion thing happens, it's not like the promotion is like, oh shit, this set him off and now he's pissed off. It's like, no, it's everything. It's just the promotion just kind of just was the thing that made him say, you know what, fuck pretending, I'm turning up right now. And he was bearing a lot of what he was really feeling, I think, and pretending that he was happy and satisfied and adjusted. And so I just don't think the promotion is like the impetus, like like, hey, this is what did it. I just think he just figured like, time to stop bullshitting. So before I even get to what happens after the promotion, though, I do want to say that when Toby's boss told him that, I guess whoever this is, I'm assuming there's like a board that makes these sorts of decisions, that they said like they questioned his dedication because he took 3 personal days the last 3 weeks. I wanted to break that motherfucker's neck. Because if there's anything that I think every single one of us can all agree on, is that Toby's an incredible fucking doctor, man. And like his care for his patients and just the way he can comfort people very uniquely. Like to say that like, and Toby's like, I've worked here for 15 years. Like I can't imagine having I'm going to assume he had a fairly spotless attendance record up to this point, to have done 14 years and 9 months of really strong attendance and to have to hear, I said 9 months, these are the last 3 weeks. So I'm sorry, 14 years and 11 months of really solid attendance, and to have the 3 personal days you took in the last 3 weeks thrown in your face as to why your 15 years of work were not valuable enough for this promotion. I thought Toby was gonna kill that motherfucker in the room, I swear. Maybe not literally kill him, but I thought that the Toby turn up was like, it was only gonna get worse. Like he was gonna turn up on that guy, he was gonna get fired. I thought it was gonna go way worse than it did. But after Toby learns about the promotion, he also learns that Karen Cooper, the woman who had the liver transplant last week, is suffering from brain damage because of it. And now the husband essentially, I don't want to say he blames Toby, but like, he has this great line. The Toby had the great line in whatever episode that was when they talked about it. Might have been last one, where he essentially was like, from your perspective, it probably looks like why me, but from my perspective, we successfully do this several times a day. This result and this interaction with the husband, it's like turned what was a supremely comforting and loving and well-meaning phrase, and it turned it into something that from the husband's perspective was a broken promise. And that was like a wild thing for me to kind of contend with, like, especially because I cited that specific line in my video. I'm like, wow, that was really great. And just, it would have had, I'd have been like, almost like the mark here. And it's not a mark because Toby's not trying to manipulate anybody, but that would have worked on me too. I'd have been like, oh wow, like I feel really good about this now. And then to come out of this situation, it would kind of be like, yo, like you had me feeling like I had like a 99% chance of no issues and now brain dead. So like, I mean, it's like the husband was being unreasonable and kind of like blaming Toby for this, but it's like at the same time you can kind of understand, and that just really fucking sucked for Toby. And that was his first shitty situation, and that happened right after not finding out about the promotion. Then he shits on the one, so he has the 3 people who I guess report to him. I'm sure there's a very well-known hospital term for that I don't know. But like the 3 people that are like, that shadow him all the time and shit. He shits on the one guy asking for a recommendation, and he's like, just write it out and I'll sign it. I wouldn't even know what to say anyway. And then makes him call him Dr. Fleischman, all because I think the conversation was something like, why are you trying to get into this? And he said something, basically the guy made it sound like he was in it for the career advancement and the credit and all this kind of shit, and not in it for like the patients and shit like that. And that set Toby off, and he just like shits on this guy like really bad. Like the Dr. Fleischman thing, that is a very uniquely cunty aspect of Toby that like Dr. Fleischman, motherfucker. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like that's super douchey, especially when you're talking to someone who already works with you and someone who you've had a cordial /good relationship with since he had earlier tried to hang out with them for drinks. So it's like, man, that was such a dick move, man. Like, I really didn't like Toby in that moment. And then he hits on the girl, which I was saying at the beginning, I was like, I think she has a thing for him. And then I pulled it back. To my credit, I was like, no, I don't think so anymore. But the way that conversation was going, I kind of thought, I was like, hey, he's going to shoot his shot. I feel like he had a good chance. And it didn't work out. But, and this doesn't happen in order. I think this next thing I'm going to mention happens before all of this. But there's a scene, I think it's actually the opening scene, where Seth is opening up to Toby. And he's opening up, like, big time. Not just like, hey, man, like, not your standard, hey, man, I think I'm going to propose to my girl. Like, he's talking about, feeling lonely, feeling like, like the aspects of his life that Toby looks at with admiration make him feel like a loser. And like, he's really like sharing with Toby, and he's just like, yo, I know you think that my life is cool, but like, I really feel like shit all the time. And Toby's basically like, no, you don't. Like, you have a great time. I was just hanging out with you. We had a fucking ball. And like, Toby almost kind of tried to like talk Seth out of like doing the right thing and settling down and doing what he felt was best for him, trying to grow up and mature and say, this woman, I told her about my situation with my job, and she didn't even give a fuck. She was supportive of me, and I think I want to marry her. Toby's just like, yo, marriage is for clowns, bro. Let's go out to the club till 3. And like, Toby was being a bad influence. So it's like, now, instead of like, he started off as someone who, if in case we've forgotten, because we've seen Libby and Seth all season, but we might have forgotten, he abandoned them when he got with Rachel. He reappeared when he needed them for support after the situation with Rachel, and they were there for him. And now here's Seth trying to say, hey, look, man, I'm dealing with a lot, and I'm trying to better myself. And Toby's like, yo, let's just get fucked. Let's keep getting fucked up. You live a great life, man. Like, it's like he's trying to drag them down with him. And like, that is a really shitty thing to do when you've abandoned these people for all this time. You were too good to hang with them. You were hanging out with your little rich hoity-toity friends, and you abandoned the people who knew you before you were a fucking rich ass, well, rich depending on who you ask, but like, before you were a big shot, and then you abandon these people, and then you only come back after all this time for a completely self-serving motive. Like, and then it has the nerve to do that to Seth. Like, yeah, that was like, Toby has a shitty episode this week. He does. And granted, he's had a really bad turn of events, but yeah, that was not cool, man. Let's see. So, I mentioned that, Toby's kind of dragging everyone down to his level, and anybody who gets near Toby kind of gets caught up in this like almost like tornado of his anger and sucked in. And I think there's no better example than, what happens at the end of the episode, what the episode title is based off of. So let's talk about it. Like I said, the episode title refers to the cigarettes, but it's less about the cigarettes and more about the events that take place while they are outside having the cigarettes. So Toby goes to this reunion for this Living Abroad crew. He hasn't been there for 15 years. Libby narrates that she goes every year. Now, once we get to this point, the show kind of splits into these two separate scenes. We have a scene, not two separate scenes, but two separate like plot lines that kind of play up against each other. One where Toby and Rachel are at a party with the douchebag rich friends, and then the aforementioned reunion scene. And these two scenes, I think, are kind of meant to juxtapose like how accepted Toby feels within each circle or within each class of people. Like the rich people, they don't get his jokes. Rachel calls him stupid because she's fucking Rachel. Says like he's, so what is it, like you're always who you were gonna be or something like that. Something that amounts to you were never gonna be better than you are right now. Something like that. Like you have a very low ceiling, pal. And then conversely at the reunion, everyone's happy to see him. They're laughing at his jokes. He has deep and meaningful conversations. I particularly liked when he talked about divorce with the one guy. And the one guy says, it's just a divorce, like it's not a big deal, which I thought was a weird thing to say. But Toby says it's more than just a divorce. It's like a referendum on all of your life choices. And like, there's so many things that he has said that I go, man, that's kind of deep, man. That makes sense. like that is, man. And there's been so many great lines about relationships and divorce and why these things have the impact on humans that it has. And I found that to be really interesting because I just like analyzing thought, mind, behavior, why we do what we do. And I think this show gives a really interesting perspective on not just what it's like to be in this situation, but what it can do to your brain and your mind and how you interact with people and how you treat them. And Yeah, it's and what that how that impacts you in the sense of like you are fundamentally changed. How does that show? How do you move through life now as a different person than you've been for I can't remember how long they said Toby was married, 14, 15 years, I'm not sure. But like if you've been accustomed to a certain kind of life for a decade and a half, and now it's totally fucking different. And to throw on that, now you're old. Now things like Tinder exist that didn't exist when he was out seeing Rachel as just a girlfriend or whatever. I don't know. I've just found that really interesting. So Libby arrives at the reunion with Adam and talks about how this is her favorite night of the year, which clearly upsets him because it seems like everything she does is like a look how little you mean to me, Adam kind of move. And I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like that's probably how Adam feels. Like, hey, this is my favorite night of the year, and this is my favorite person. I want to go to this thing. And then she shits on the Disney trip. Shits on, I don't know what they call it at Disney. I haven't been since I was a kid, but it sounded like a fast pass, like how you can, if you pay extra, you can skip the line. And then she tries to make it sound deep by saying, like, you're not subverting the line, you're cutting the line. It's the same fucking thing, Libby. Don't be a fucking douche. Like, it's the same thing. The only difference is, it's the same thing in what you're doing. The difference is, the reason it's not called cutting is because you're not just bogarting your way in front of somebody. You're paying for the right to go in front of them. An opportunity that they also have and chose not to do for whatever reason. Not to say that, I turned it down, maybe you can't afford it, whatever, that's fine. But everybody has the opportunity to pay for the ability to go to the front of the line. You, Libby, apparently had that ability. Don't make it sound like it's something different than what it was. Like, I don't know. That was such a douchey fucking line. And then Adam says it's time to go, and she's rude to him, makes him leave without her. Just a really bad situation. So we're now arrived at the part where Toby, Libby, and Seth go out for a smoke. They're smoking the time cigarettes that they smoked, I think they said in Israel, which stood, like I said, this is my enjoyment is what it stood for. But once Seth and Toby both accurately, mind you, tell Libby that she was rude to Adam, everyone just kind of spills their guts because they all have valid beefs with each other. They've been holding on for the sake of their friends' feelings, and it just goes completely fucking left. And the first part was the one that fed into everything I've been saying all year. Libby says, "Oh, so now you're interested in me?" And that's it, right? That's what I've been saying the whole time. Like, he only showed interest in her when she could serve a purpose for him, and he I don't say went out of his way, but it was very clear he had no interest in what was going on with her. And I mean, that was a great point to raise to him. It was pretty accurate, and that's what the problem is here, and that's why this scene is so, I don't want to say tough to watch, but you do kind of just go like, because everything they're saying is true. Everyone's throwing shots at each other, and the best and worst thing about it is that it was all true. And that's why I say it's the best and worst, because it's like, that sucks, what they just said, but it is true, so I can't really, you can't really feel a way about it. Well, you can feel a way, but you can't really do anything about it. And once this whole argument is over, and I mean, everybody takes shit. Seth gets dogged out, Libby gets dogged out, Toby gets dogged out. Everything they say is valid. It's bad. But once it's over, Libby clearly wants to reconcile. She shares a car with him. She asks to come in because she has to pee. And then she has this kind of like monologue by the window. Speaking of which, this just irked me. Like I said, things that, well, I'll just tell you what happened, and you'll see why it irked me. Libby goes into Toby's bedroom, and she opens a window, and she sits on whatever, this little sitting area by the window, and she pulls out a cigarette. Already, as soon as she opened the window, for one, you should know she plans on smoking. But she pulls out the cigarette, and then Toby goes, "Oh, you can't smoke in here. Like, you didn't piece together that's what she was doing." Where she opened the window and sat down by it. And he's like, "Oh, you can't smoke in here." And I'm like, okay, one, obviously she planned on smoking already, but then she says something like, "Oh, come on, this is what's up." And he goes, "Blow it out the window." What the fuck you think she opened it for, dumbass? Like it's little things like that. That line wasn't necessary. It wasn't. Like, you just say, oh, you can't smoke in here. Like, come on. Like, all right, fine. You don't have to say, but blow it out the window when the window's already open and she's sitting by it. Take that line out of the script. Because I shouted no shit at my TV when he said that. And then to top it all off, she talks about something, again, a very interesting, I think, human emotion that we don't really think about. And that's what I liked about this show, is that these things that have been brought to the surface, some of these feelings, are things that can exist that I think a lot of us don't really, I don't even want to say don't understand, but that just don't even occur to us. Like, we don't really give too much thought and exploration into why we behave a certain way. We might think like, I'm angry, but why did anger make you do what you did? And she talks about missing, longing, and desire. Like chasing chasing the carrot or something like that. Like, once you get it, what do? And it'll be because you've lost that feeling of wanting, that desire, that chase. Like, now that you have the thing that you've been chasing, you don't have that feeling of desire anymore. And I think that's a deep thought, man. That's crazy to think about. And after opening up and sharing something so personal, profound, she turns around, this piece of shit sleeping. I'm like, man, Toby is having a bad episode. Like, what a fucking asshole, man. And then she falls asleep. They wake up. Sally had peed on himself or something. Okay, that seems kind of random. But he rudely kicks her out. I'm like, why is he being such a dick? And in this moment, all I can think about is how awkward, not even awkward, how I'm going to feel squeamish watching the interaction she's going to have with Adam whenever she gets home. But she leaves, and she's narrating about this guy named Glenn that she fucked around with when she first started working at the magazine. And she says, like, I blew cigarette smoke on him so his wife would know where he was. Like, total dick stuff. Like, who does that? Well, a lot of people do that. But, like, why do you have to be an asshole just for the sake of? But anyway, she laments about how briefly she had power and how quickly she gave it away. And I thought, I thought that's essentially trying to recapture your youth, which, I feel that, obviously. But, I mean, I don't know. I guess for me, I'm in a place where I just, like, you got to let that shit go and focus on making the most out of the second half of your life and looking back at the first half, like, fondly. Like, I remember that. That was great. Not, I want to go back to that. I wish I could go back to that. But we end the episode with her seeing Rachel sitting on a park bench, looking like a fucking bum. And that's how we end the episode. So it looks like we are going to see Rachel again. I didn't know we were. She looked like she might have been on something, not just like sitting there. She looked like she was high. I don't know what was going on, but I look forward to finding out. So I will see you guys next Friday for episode 7. I have to find out how many episodes are in this. I want to say 8, but I will see you guys next week for episode 7. And until then, peace.